Next, I'm going to be talking about John N. and the Old Trapper Lodge in Sun Valley. Some people know about that? Fantastic, great. I'll put up a picture of John.
Which
if
one
you can
is
tell
real?
which one is a statue and which one is a person, you're going to be doing pretty good. I bet a lot
Is this
of...
a Pinocchio sort of story?
Yeah, no, he was made of wood and then he became a real boy.
And he made more things of wood.
I bet a lot of people are sitting here thinking nothing ever good happened in Sun Valley. I'm not here to correct you, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. But I'm going to weave a little yarn that might change your mind slightly. The story starts with a man named John Henry N. on the left, the guy who can grow hair, actually. He was born in the impossible year of 1897 in a temporary lodging town called Violet, which was near Gould City in Michigan. His ancestors were immigrants from Finland and Sweden, and he came to the United States, and they all worked as lumbermen or farmers or fishermen. John got married in 1921 to a woman named Mary, and around that time he had worked for the state of Michigan's Field and Game Department as a game warden, which is not a boss of an arcade. He protected wildlife. He moved the family to Florida. They spent 5 years there trapping alligators and snakes. That was the beginning of one of his long traditions. He began writing and publishing mail courses of his series, How to Snare, The Best Secrets of Trapper John. And he would mail these courses on how to trap animals. He had a series of about like 6 to 10 correspondence courses that he'd send off with cents, like smells, not pennies, trapping supplies. He'd do this into his later years. In 1940, Trapper John suffered a spinal inflammation and was forced to give up trapping. Partly due...
How did he go by his name then? What was he?
He was John before, then became Trapper John.
Inflammation John?
That's it, yeah, spinal inflammation John. It didn't stick. Partly due to the need for new employment and partly because of his health, they all moved to California. California climate at the time cured everybody now and makes everybody sick.
Now it's the problem.
Yeah. Trapper John moved the family to California, specifically to San Fernando Valley, and as one biography put it, they moved to Roscoe in the San Fernando Valley, which was, I didn't know this before, that's what they used to call Sun Valley. Oh. Yeah. We all learned one thing. Once the ends got to Sun Valley...
That's
gotta go.
the only thing we're going to learn tonight.
Once they got to Sun Valley, John built a house for him and his family. Then the need for housing in that area due to the growing aircraft industry, he started to build rental units. Both John and Mary began working in the aircraft factory to help pay for the construction. John worked for Lockheed, which was very lucrative, so they could move forward with that. From those rental units came a motel, which he opened in 1941, near what we now know as the Burbank Airport, on San Fernando Road and Arvia Road. And he called it the Old Trapper Lodge because he was an old trapper, and that's what he called himself. It was a Western-themed motel, and thus there was Western-y directions like old weapons. He had animal pelts and tools and other memorabilia he'd acquired over the years. He saved nearly everything that his family ever used as lumbermen or fishermen and whatnot. He had rusty farm tools, snake skins, furs, rifles, broken eyeglasses, beads, belt buckles. His office was decorated but also just plain filled with all this paraphernalia like guns, photo massages.
Photo massages. Those are my favorite.
Photo montages. Equipment.
The flashback then was very powerful. It could massage you when it went off.
His motto was waste not, want not. He also decided to have a sculpture on the property to attract customers, which we'll get to. He also, to fit the theme of his motel, he started to dress up in a Western-y kind of style, which is this. He had a goatee with earrings. He dressed in like Western garb. His whole persona was the old trapper character, and how much of it was real, how much was an aspect of his personality that he accentuated, his family could never remember. Like, he would tell stories and never the same story the same way. He told folk tales, and it was folk tales where you struggled to remember what was fact and what was fiction. He just made a lot of stuff up. He just became that guy.
Like we're doing.
Yeah. This page is blank. I'm just making this up. So there's a sculpture of the old trapper figure. There's an unconfirmed story that no one wants to be concrete about, but I read it enough times to just say that it happened. There we go again. He learned how to sculpt from a man named Cloudvalve, who had been working on sculptures at Knott's Berry Farm, but he's truly known for building the giant dinosaurs at Cabazon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is Daniel's screensaver on his phone right now.
Who wants to look at my phone?
Cloudvalve sculpted the first sculpture to portray Trapper John through the medium of concrete sculpture. It took 3 days, and according to Ann's legend, after watching Bal sculpt for 3 days, he figured out how to do it effectively. Like in Antonio Banderas in 13 Warrior, where he's just watching everyone speak the language he doesn't speak, and then he picks it up. It's like that.
It's like how the monkeys learned to ride a goat.
Exactly. They just picked it up. In 1951, being sort of self-taught, he went on building an array of statues and filled the property of the old Trapper Lodge with the statues of the Old West. Cowboys, cowgirls, Native Americans, miners, people who mine for things, not children, saloon gals. He created characters and scenes, and they're fantastic. There's Peg Leg Smith, a statue of a pioneer who's brawling with Big Bear, which is a statue of a Native American who's painted red like clay, which is problematic. Peg Leg Smith was a mountain man, a prospector, and a spinner of tall tales who lived in the 19th century. There's a statue scene titled Kidnapped, showing a Native American man kidnapping a white woman. There's a Mormon doing battle with a Native American. I don't think that's going to turn out well for the Mormon.
A Mormon?
Yeah. A miner and two Gold Rush gals relax on a rough wooden bench. There's lonesome George, who sat surprised on a bench with a space for another person to sit beside him.
And surprise him?
Yeah. Hey. Then there was the Boot Hill Cemetery. Boot Hill was a mock cemetery full of graves with tall tombstones. It was intended as a family memorial. He built the faces of the statues around life masks that he made of his family members. Life masks.
This is another Twilight Zone episode.
Life masks scare the crap out of me.
Yeah.
They're so creepy.
I guess I'll smash the one I made of you. I was going to give for your birthday.
I don't want it. The characters they portrayed were from his favorite folk songs and stories growing up. There's a tombstone epitaph describing the alleged death of each of the characters. There's Blind Man Brown, who had an 8-foot frame except for his right arm, which was dug into the ground. His tombstone read, "Blind Man Brown, shake his hand, girl. He hasn't been dead that long." Ironfoot Eva was a giantess, a poetess, singer, and a blacksmith killed on her wedding day by an unknown rifleman. Red Finn's grave tells us that he choked on a broken cork floating in a jug of gin. He died in good spirits. That's John's line, that's not mine.
Well done, Greg.
Well done.
Well done.
All of this was in front of his motel to attract customers, a fake graveyard. Each sculpture began
You
with...
won't be put here, I swear.
You'll leave, I swear, you'll leave. We're not going to bury you. Each sculpture began with strong wire armature he covered with cement, and then he usually added a final layer of brightly covered paint over it. He wished to pass on a sense of the Old West that he lived through personally through experiences and myth and tall tales, and continued this folk art sculpting for 30 years, becoming a local eccentric. He was interviewed on Channel 2's It Takes All Kinds in 1972. In May of 1981, the old trapper finished working on the lodge and the Boot Hill Cemetery, which was apt time since he died later that year, after breaking a hip. He was 84 years old, and the next year, Mary Ann followed her husband out. In 1985, the entire site became California Historical Landmark, which is really great. Here's the thing about that. The Burbank Airport then bought it, and then the lodge had to move because it was torn down. But 1988, the statues and other end sculptures were saved and have remained on the campus of Pierce College in Woodland Hills. Let me put some pictures of some of the sculptures up before we continue. What do you guys want to see?
Not that one.
Not that one.
Not
Kidnapped.
Do you have any that aren't very racist?
No.
Ooh.
This is Boot Hill Cemetery. An unknown fan of the old trapper made a phone call to the big wig on Pierce campus and persuaded them to harbor the statues and keep them safe in Cleveland Park, which is near the Animal Sciences building, a part of campus that not a lot of people go to. There are no indications of a clear deal being made, so nobody knows who called them, who made the deal, and how they got there. They just there was a phone call, and now they all have the sculptures, and they have to take care of them. Some mysterious persons will come to campus every few years and repaint the sculptures, usually sending a letter in advance saying, "We're going to come paint the sculptures," but they don't know who they are, apparently.
This is our version of Zorro.
It's really easy to get to. It's right off the Soto, El Rancho Drive. There's a red barn right there, and right behind the red barn, there's all these things. When I was there this morning taking pictures, all the sprinklers were on me wherever I went. There's something called dementia concretia, which I read about when I was doing research for this. It's a last-ditch effort in the twilight years of a person's life to cover whatever outdoor space they have with homemade art. It's a testament to a talent that they like, that they were never appreciated for, that they have burning inside of them. Watts Towers comes to mind when I think about that.
Yeah.
Someone who just wanted to fill
That was
the
a long
time.
Twilight. He built that over like 40 years, though.
Yeah, he knew what was coming. It is created by a desperate feeling to leave a lasting mark, and I hope every single one of us gets a thing like this. That's it.